All right. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of The Clutch Kick. I am one of your hosts, Greg Merriman, and I am here with...
EG.
And today we're going to sort of do a bit of a wrap on DCA.
Last weekend was DCA at Mount Gambier. And you're a competitor and I was a judge.
And I think we both have massive drift hangovers.
Yeah, I'm so still wrecked from the weekend. I still haven't caught up yet.
I think that's the first time in a while you've actually brought a car. Like, okay, you've always sort of had a car there, but that's the first time I think you've driven at a DCA event, well, in the last season, because last season I didn't see you drive at all, so you did a bit of driving too.
Last season, no, I did take the 180 to Mount Gambier, but I think that was Nick was using it. Nick, my teammate from Team Red Stage, was using it as
shameless
a DCA
plug.
Car. It's more people. If I just say Nick, then people will get upset because I didn't explain who this Nick person was. So Nick is one of my mates here from Canberra. He's in the same team as I am, and what did I do? He drove his R32 for the state round they had last year, and I brought up the 180 so he can drive that for DCA, the national round.
And then this year you brought down your well-presented R32 four-door, and it had a bit of an interesting weekend. We can start off on that one because I think you brought it not expecting it to see a huge amount of action, but it saw more than its fair share of action. Yeah,
it did. So I got it ready fairly quickly. There wasn't really much to it. I'd lent out a lot of parts from it, and I needed to put it back together. Some parts are still missing. I got it together enough so I can put it on the trailer, brought it down to Mount Gambier, and sort of fix up a little minor things I had to do. I was expecting to drive it on the Friday and little bits throughout the weekend, but the first time something went wrong was I lent the car to Steve, and on the first lap he crashed it into the wall and put a hole in the door and smashed the taillight. And then later on, Bo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
Well, he had come to you. He hadn't come to you until Saturday morning, right? He had pulled the pin. So when we did the episode with Steve that was aired last week, you hadn't lent the car out to Bo yet.
No.
So
on Saturday morning, Bo was carless because he blew up the engine in his car. Somehow, I think he was still trying to figure out what happened, but definitely a big hole in the side of the engine. And Luke, he spoke to Luke, and Luke suggested to speak to me. And I sort of had a talk with Bo to say, I only just put this car together. It still needs a bit of work. The tyres are all bald, and you're probably better off finding someone else's car. But I lent him the keys anyway, and so he crashed a couple of times as well.
Yeah, but I don't think most of that was post. That was after. That was after comp, though, right? He was pretty good pre-comp. I think it stayed in one piece.
I can't remember the first one. I know he definitely crashed between practice and the end of the competition time. And then just after we finished, it was the first expression session after the comp had ended. I'd gone to the toilet, and then I heard an announcement to say that my car had been crashed again.
Yeah, I was the third car in that line. I was the Patrick in the brown burgundy AEU spun in front of him, and I was the third car in that line, and I watched him drive straight into the door of that car.
Oh, but really?
But he had sort of prepared for the guy for Pat to sort of stay on it and swing out of the way. Yeah. But the way he tried to pull the car back onto the track meant he just stopped dead in front of Bo, and poor Bo was just a passenger and put it in the side of him. And yeah, I heard Mitch on the microphone as well calling out your name, and I found that pretty funny from the driver's seat.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's crashed. I couldn't do anything about it. But Bo's been looking for new headlights for me anyway. I told him it didn't have to be mint. It just needed to pass.
The headlights?
Yeah, headlights with glass on them or something. So all in one piece, and then I can mount it. So he's found one, and he's still looking for another one at the moment.
I have to say, that car was pretty fast, and I think probably outperformed what you thought it was capable of doing that weekend.
Well, the car wasn't prepared enough for a competition. I have ideas for it, and I think that car is fine for most things. Like, I've kept up with lots of people. It really depends on the course as well. But Mount Gambier isn't a high-speed course. You can go really fast.
People were going fast.
But it's not fourth gear or fifth gear, so the run-up isn't huge. You didn't need to get lots of speed quickly. You can just go through the motions first, second, third on the gas, and then you'd pick up enough speed. So that was fine. I think the biggest thing I thought was the comparison between his Cressida and my 32. There would be such a big power difference as well as torque difference. And that's one of the things I sort of explained to him.
Well, I give him mad props, because the laps that I followed him on and the laps that I saw him doing competition, he absolutely sent it in that car. And he looked almost more settled in an underpowered car, with just being able to get more revs out of it than he even was in the Cressy on Friday. He was still strong on Friday, and I know you guys said he was in the other episode
on fire on Friday.
That he was really good, but he seemed to keep that momentum up. And considering, I don't think you've got much in the way of lock mods in that car, do you?
I don't think so.
Just pretty basic?
No knuckles. I don't think it has any other things besides coilovers. I'm pretty sure it used to have tie rods with the spaces built in, the lock spaces, and I'm pretty sure I had to take the tie rod out because I bent them. So it has just standard tie rods. I do have tie rods with spaces, so I can actually put those in. But ideally, my goal actually for that car was to put S14 knuckles in there and run no sway bar, extended LCAs, and S14 front coilovers. But that hasn't happened yet. It's a combination of money.
I got a set of knuckles sitting here for you if you want them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're telling me about that. So I'll have to organise it to get those.
Yeah, get them next time.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's not sure which car we're talking about, if you've seen any of the social media come up, it's the shiny pinky red car with the blue shiny tribal sort of graphics down the side, super faded on top. There was also a really cool video done with you and your car on Friday, which I found absolutely hilarious, done by one of the radio stations down there, which was pretty cool, with one of the radio hosts jumping in as passenger with a cup of coffee. But I think that didn't go as well as, well, I guess it went well for you, but probably wasn't the experience necessarily that you're looking for. You seemed to have a wet shirt by the end of it, and I don't know if that was from excitement or from other things.
That was a really strange experience. So I met the guy, the radio host, and when he's in the car, when the camera's turned on, his persona changed, and I couldn't actually tell if when he was talking as him and when he was talking as the radio host. So I really didn't say much to him because I didn't know if I was meant to respond or not. Because and the other thing is he kept talking towards the camera, which makes sense, but am I meant to interject or not? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm meant to add to his conversation.
Yeah.
The other thing was the coffee was, I thought it would just go straight up and then cover the guy. But when he was taking the sip, the car was sideways, wind was rushing through the window and was actually blowing across my eyes. So I was actually had my eyes slightly closed at that point when the coffee came out, and I couldn't actually see where I was going.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Was that on entry or through clip 3 down the bottom of the hill in front of the tree?
Clip 3. So
yeah, so one of the fastest parts of the track, really.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I did actually talk to the guy beforehand. Do you want me to make it a bit smoother, or do you want me to run normally, or I can make it super rough? So
whip him around
normally. But anyway, that was it. So, how did you go?
How did I go? Well, considering we kind of touched it on the last episode, I had done a box on Friday on the run up to the line. I went from first to second on the run up, let the clutch out, and had no more second gear and a lot of noise in the gearbox. Managed to get it back into the pits and got straight into trying to get in contact with people to try and find a gearbox, which in the middle of Mount Gambier, SR20 gearboxes aren't the easiest thing or aren't there at all to source. But luckily, some of the Melbourne guys hadn't made their way across yet, and one of them managed to bring me a gearbox. So I got a CA gearbox, and we spent Friday afternoon getting that out, and then spent
longer than I thought you should have taken.
Yeah, then it took a lot more time on Saturday morning than we're hoping to get it in, but doing gearboxes on the floor and considering how rough that floor is, I did one in Tasmania
all the time.
Yeah, but it was like I don't know, it was just crappy, and a lot of people were jumping in to give me a hand. And man, my Z32 box is easier to get in than an SR box. I didn't realize you got to twist it all the way, basically 90 degrees towards the driver's side to even have a chance of slipping it in.
Only if you have different engine mounts. So what I found was when you put the Nismo engine mounts on, I think they're actually a little bit taller, or they're in a different shape that it makes it difficult for you to slide it in vertically. They're stock engine mounts. You can rock the engine back and then put the gearbox in vertically.
Yeah, we had rocked the engine back a little bit, but yeah, it was
too high, I think.
Yeah, the top parts of the bell housing were hitting on everything, so I managed to get it done just before the lunch break, and I managed to go out and do a few donuts.
I think you did one lap.
Yeah, I did a few donuts down the end to make sure that everything wasn't, everything was tight, no vibrations, no nothing, and did one practice lap. Then we went into qualifying session, and the car felt pretty good, basically the same as the day before. And I was in a borrowed car, so I didn't really want to put it in the wall. So I got to the point where I felt like I had all the pieces laid out ready to go, but I hadn't put them together yet.
You mean the course? The course is in pieces. Okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to avoid putting it into that. The first clip's not so bad, but over the crest, you can really drive it out to that wall, and I was trying to avoid going into that wall because I didn't want to do any more damage to that car, having to return it on Monday. So I was fairly comfortable, and I just wanted to put myself in the pressure situation. I find I handle myself better in that situation, and when the qualifying line died down, I jumped into that, and I think my first qualifying run was my better score. The second one was a little bit rough, but I went and just did back-to-back runs. I felt like my first one was good, so I was feeling fairly confident in that, so I went and threw it into my second qualifying run. And yeah, the judges told me I got lucky. I didn't really understand what they meant. I was like,
compared to the rest of the runs you were doing the whole weekend, that was the best run you did, and it looked like a fluke. It probably wasn't a fluke.
Nah. Honestly, I performed better under the pressure. When I used to do the high-tech rounds on figure 8, I used to go out in the warm-up and just do a couple of handbrake pulls, make sure the car was running right, and go park it until it was my turn to qualify, because I didn't really feel the need to warm up or whatever. I knew that track well enough, and Mount Gambier, once I had settled myself, I was okay. So, and when you told me I was lucky, I was like, oh, cool. Like everybody else was really, really crappy, and I've managed to make top 16, or I'm versing somebody's managed to fluke it even more than me, and I'm versing somebody fairly easy in the top 32 or something like that. But you told me.
Yeah, I can bring up the results. Let me just.
No, I wasn't lucky, Matt. I just sent it on 2 runs. So, yeah, that was my qualifying, and then in the battles I was versing the Cash King family. I had Grant Davies, who's Blake Patterson's cousin, and we'd actually done a bunch of practice runs in the afternoon on Saturday.
18th. You qualified 18th.
Yeah,
it was a pretty tight group in the middle there, though.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've actually managed to break into. I think I was like mid-70s, right? Like 76 or something.
73.33.
I think that's the first time I've actually managed to break into the 70s at a DCA event. So I'm pretty happy with that, and it's better than I did last year in my own car. So I might have to keep stealing Hung's S14, also known as.
It's street registered, isn't it?
Not currently, but all it needs is a pink slip, or not even a pink slip, just needs to be paid for, just rego paid for.
Okay, so you could drive that down to Tasmania.
I could drive it down to Tasmania, but I'm not going to drive it down to Tasmania.
But you've performed better in that car than your own car, so. And
yeah, but that's because that one runs.
It's someone else's car.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That I would then feel guilty and have to pay for.
Oh, I don't think Steve felt guilty after he crashed my car.
Yeah, but that's because Steve's not necessarily a nice person.
Okay.
So yeah,
you were up against Grant, weren't you?
So I had Grant. We did a few practice runs Saturday afternoon. We didn't know we were actually going to be versing each other at that stage until after the party. And then Sunday morning, we did a handful of runs together again. And he had said to me, "Oh, you're quicker than me off the line," because I was just staying pinned. Basically, I'd get off the line and just stay pinned. So we came with the agreement. I was just going to let him leave the line, and then I was just going to smoke it past him. And he was the higher qualifier, so he led first. I think I did a pretty good chase, but on the transition between 2 and 3, I choked myself up behind him and got a little bit wobbly in there and had to slow up to not drop off the track. And then I managed to follow him fairly closely on that. And then on my lead, I gave him the jump, and yeah, we just smoked into clip 1, and he was on my door through clip 2, and I just kept it pinned, and he was right there the whole way. And I knew when we got to the bottom of the hill that basically there was no chance of me winning. It was either going to be one more time because he's done something funky as well, or he had the win. And so he got the win, which I was kind of happy about because it ended up raining for top 16. So I was happy to not have to drive in the rain at all. So that kind of worked out for me. I was a little bit more pleased with that. Okay. But I did get a little bit annoyed with him because he barely put a foot wrong all weekend. Yeah. Until his top 16 battle. He drove super consistent, and I'm pretty sure he made a mistake in his top 16 battle.
Top 16, Grant.
I gave him some lip when he came up to the judges' commentator area after he had been knocked out. I can't remember who he went against.
He went against Chopper, Daniel Shoulders.
Yeah,
Shoulders. That would be a tough one.
Yeah, that was going to be a tough one either way. That guy is an absolutely mental driver. I remember him from last year, and he had cut the whole back out of that R33 before last year's Mount Gambier. And he, killer driver, willing to push the limits and super, super aggressive. So Grant had his work cut out for him. Yeah, but
he straightened on in the valley. So
yeah.
In that little dip, he straightened out. So I think people would say lost drift.
I don't think he'd lost it completely, but just bobbled right through there.
Anyway, that was the biggest thing. Is it needs to be a fluid motion. So even though it's a quick flick, quick transition, he still needs to hold and at some angle going up that hill. But he straightened up, and it was either he was way too straight. That's all.
Yeah,
he just wasn't fluid enough.
So he was knocked out after that, but. Yeah, it was cool to meet him. Good to see two guys coming out of the same family, pushing the limits and being super consistent drivers. That was pretty fun. But don't let people from that family navigate your way home, because they'll take the long way.
Grant won the Raleigh Series too, I think.
I think he won the AM Series a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So. He would definitely be a tough person to beat. So it would have been a good battle between both of them. He was actually better with other people than by himself
on his solo runs.
Yeah,
that seemed like a pretty common theme. I feel like through most of the weekend, the battles from top to bottom all seemed pretty strong, and nobody backed down. I feel like compared to last year, things were a lot more aggressive, and people were. I feel like there was less accidents per se, less people sort of purposely driving cars into walls, but the battles were just overall cleaner and more aggressive. But the start line had moved back, I think, about 5 meters.
Yeah, it was a couple of meters,
but it was enough to really pick up the speed over the hill. But I think also Luke made the change this year compared to last year, where the outside clip 2, which is the clip that's on the back side of the crest as you've come over the hill, was probably, I would say, about half a meter closer to the track compared to last year.
Yeah,
and
the wall did cover some of the clip, and I redrew it a little bit. I only extended it probably about half a foot. So maybe 20 centimeters. I made it I pushed it back in. It was pretty hard.
Yeah, but then the wall that was sort of a little bit before clip 3 had been moved back, I would say almost a full meter to a meter and a half off the track edge compared to last year. It felt like it was further back, which made you feel like as you came over the hill and you wanted to really try and snap that transition to push out to outside clip 3, that there was lots of room to make mistakes, because I don't think a lot of people hit that wall, where the year before Blake went into that wall, a few other people ended up bouncing off one wall and into the other, so it gave you more room for that mistake. And also having the plastic water barriers not inside turn 1, inside turn
clip 1.
Over the crest. Over the crest, I think made a difference. It did make for some really interesting, sketchy driving at times.
Yeah,
I think a few people went all Ryan Turk on that business and sort of cut inside and almost mounted the embankment as they flew over the top of the hill. But I don't think there was any. I don't think any major incidents came because of that not being there, and that was probably a good thing. It gave everybody a little bit more room, and I think that may have been one of the reasons for the big speed increase as well.
Because
people, not so much being able to cut it, but the fact that you could. Yeah, you didn't have to worry about getting settled before you drove past it. You could settle it before it and just power past it. So I think that was good. So those little changes, I think, made a world of difference. And it was funny, the last clip, the little tree being gone, but there being a wall there, almost made it easier to get to, because it was a stronger understanding of, I can just use the wall as a visual rather than trying to find the markings on the ground, and having that little sapling that absolutely got hammered last year.
Yeah, no, we did put a plastic water barrier there, I'm pretty sure, unless it got destroyed at the end of the...
Last year?
Yeah, last year there was just a single plastic water barrier just near that clip.
Yeah, I think it was off the track though, where this year they had the wall right on it.
It was the Armco that was there this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that made it pretty good, but...
Yeah, go on.
No, you go.
No, you go.
No, you go.
It's all right.
No, you go. No, I already talk too much. Everybody complains that I talk too much, so it's your turn to talk.
No, that's fine. It's fine. You talk. I know you like talking.
But I think this year there was way less accidents compared. I think each year the number of cars crashing has sort of decreased. Yeah, there were a lot of accidents, but a lot of them sort of happened post competition or outside the competition conditions.
Yes.
Sort of in the Arvo session on Saturday, and then the Arvo session on Sunday, when things tend to get really loose.
Yeah.
Really loose.
It goes wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun driving though. The big long trains. I was looking forward to seeing those, but not with my car in it. That was
it happened
without me driving. That I mean.
Yeah, I can feel you on that one. On Sunday afternoon, I got involved in a couple of trains, and then I had Ben Meir decide that clutch kicking really early and then narrowly missing that big line of bollards just before clip 1, and then completely straightening up and then spinning in front of me a little bit further down the track. I was like, I have to remember this isn't my car. So I think I went back out, did one more lap on my own, and then I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to park this, jump out for 10 minutes, calm down, and then jump back in the car and go back out. And at that point, I just took a few officials and photographers out for runs and stayed out of those trains, because I know I had a couple of bumps and bruises after last year's trains. So as much as I wanted to be involved in those trains, I knew that things just continue to go a little bit wild.
Oh, it was good fun though. 'Cause I was doing a live stream for the DCA page, and I kept going in for rides with other people. So the first ride was with Jack Shanahan in the DCA S14. So that went all smooth. It was I guess uneventful, besides it being a very good clean run. Then I jumped into, I'm pretty sure it's Logan Waterhouse, I think in the Datsun, and his car was really fast for a non-turbo car. It felt, I can't sort of describe. It felt like a very, very big engine in that car, but we did hit into Nathan Greenhill in the R32. I think someone spun in front of him in the train.
Yeah, it was Jack. Jack did a massive straighten in front of him.
Okay. And the back of Logan's car had punched into Nathan's driver's door. And that was a pretty big hit. Nathan couldn't get out. And then after that, I jumped into what everyone told me to get into. Was David, I'm not too sure how to pronounce his last name, in the AU Falcon, the champagne coloured one.
The fan lane fronted one.
Yes, yeah. Stankowski, I think.
Ski, yeah.
So I jumped into the car with him. I did a couple of laps, and then again, how did we come in contact? I think it was Grant. I'm not too sure what happened, if Grant actually pulled up or not, because I was looking at my camera the whole time, trying to keep it steady. And we were just past clip 4, and all I remember was looking. Oh, look, there's the back of Grant's car, and then crash. All the glass coming out of the door of David's car, and then we stopped. And so I knew we hit Grant. Having a look after Grant's car was fine. It had a little dent in the corner, but it wasn't too bad. But David's door was completely caved in.
So that's why he had the plastic sheet taped to the window frame on the drive back, because I was with Grant, Blake, Nick McFeely, and David on the way back from there up to Sydney.
Okay.
So I guess before we get in trouble from Luke for saying that there was a lot of crashes, and you can call me soft if you like, but I managed to not touch any walls all weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not a single rub. The year before I had a small rub. This year I managed to keep it completely off the wall. I did bottom out a few times when I ran off track at just before clip 3, but I managed to keep it off the wall. So anybody who says Mount Gambier is a crash fest is either purposely driving harder.
They're just saying an excuse.
Yeah, well, and people who are hitting stuff are people who are crashing are either driving outside of their limits.
Yep.
Or are totally pushing their limits, and the damage that they're doing is minor, and they're finishing their runs. Anybody who's completely riding off cars is doing stuff that is, well and truly past what their skill level and what their driving ability is.
Well, first place was Matt Harvey, and he got through the competition without hitting anything.
I think he had broken one tail light before. That was
after. Yeah.
No. Oh, he was following Jack on Friday, and he rubbed Jack did something funky. I think Jack got off the gas or something coming down through clip 2, and Matt snapped the car straight to miss him, and he rubbed the driver's side rear wheelie along the wall and bent something. I watched that happen, and it was not driving. I was watching from there.
Was there though? Like his car was completely straight by the end of the competition. So you can win it without actually damaging a car.
Yeah, and I think Dale's car, other than a car spinning in front of him in the top 32 and causing them to have an accident, was pretty straight. Other than that, until the expression sessions later in the afternoon too, I think he had kept his pretty.
Yeah, I think everyone just starts to have they start to have fun, and then they just, I don't know how to describe it. You just you don't care, but just the fun takes over, and you just
you get caught up
slightly. Only like I watched some of it. They just sort of just touched walls, and that's it. So it's not really like, if you didn't want to do it, then you don't have to. Yeah,
and I think some of the better driving actually happens in those Arvo sessions because everybody's a little bit more
drove better
relaxed.
Then.
Yeah, well, Sunday morning I thought Saturday afternoon I'm like, okay, I'm going to prep the car for Sunday. I put fresh tyres on it, filled it right up with petrol, so I didn't have to touch it again on Sunday. And I ran the same tyre pressures I'd been running all weekend, went out and almost tore my bloody shoulder out of its socket trying to wrestle the car. The car kept wanting to...
Is that one where the front wheel was just like wobbling around everywhere?
No, that was Friday morning. Yeah, the car wasn't hitting the lock stops because I won't name the brand. The lock stops had bent, and I had to flip them over to try and stop them. I haven't even told Hung this, so if he's hearing this, I flipped your lock stops over to try and make sure that the tire was
to work.
To actually work. And so Sunday I had done all that and just kept trying to kick it over the crest, and I didn't want to go too crazy because I'd already smashed one gearbox, and I don't have a huge amount of mechanical knowledge when it comes to when the car's playing up or doing funky stuff, like continuing to stay on limiter when I've broken rockers and doing silly stuff like that. So I had a feeling the clutch was slipping when I was trying to kick it over the hill, and I was getting messages from Danielle, who was there spotting for me, through Steve, who was standing on clip 1 and doing flags before the battles, and I kept getting messages being like, you're being too nice to the clutch, kick it harder, do this, do that. But I could swear that the car just kept spiking onto limiter just after I kicked it. So I had a feeling the clutch was slipping. I kept trying to muscle my way through it, and then I was sitting in line, and Jack Shanahan went over the crest for his first run of the day, and he threw it up over the crest, and the car just snapped straight away. And so I was the next car to go. I think I was in front of Connor at that stage in the front-wheel drive Prelude. And the run was rubbish. I ended up shooting off the return road to get out of his way, and I went down into the pits, and Jack had quickly pulled into the tyre changer and was putting more pressure in his tyres. So I stopped and had a quick chat to him, and he's like, yeah, man, the track is way more gripped up because it had been sunny all weekend, and then it was overcast and cool on Sunday. So I think the track had gripped up, and yeah, it wasn't making for a good time. So I bumped the pressures up like 10 psi or something like that, and the car sort of came alive again, which was good. I think we should, considering we keep talking about him, Jack Shanahan had come over from Irish Drift Championship. He was the 17. Yeah, he's probably going to be the 2018 as well, hopefully. But the 2017 Irish Drift Champion on a driver exchange program, I guess you'd call it, because we've got Dale Campaign going there for around this year. And yeah, what a cool guest.
Yeah, I can't believe he was 18.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna fangirl this right now. He is such a cool kid. I'm gonna call him the Luke Fink of Ireland.
Is that because he's a bit bigger? I could drive. I can't remember who said that. Was that you?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay, someone else commented that. They said almost the same thing. He's fairly outspoken, isn't afraid to sort of be a little bit controversial with what he says, but he backs it up with some solid driving, and even his crap talk has a heart behind it, where if you sort of bypass what he's saying, you know it's coming from a good place. Yeah.
He was super cool, really social with everybody, really good with any spectators or any of the kids there. More than willing to jump in line with everybody. My favorite part, and so sadly for him, he had qualified third on a really good practice lap. They also had dramas because they were expecting lock spaces to arrive on, I think, Thursday. They were supposed to go in the car.
The normal lock spaces?
Just a little slip-on lock spaces.
I have brand new ones with me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I had tie rods. I didn't advertise it, but I used to have them here. But I had tie rods for sale. They're brand new.
Well, that's not going to help us now. Well, EG's just walked away from anybody who's just listening to this and not watching it. EG's just walked to look inside his massive pile of stuff. So basically, Luke had organised for some lock spaces to come down to Mount Gambier, and they never showed up. So Jack was on, I think, pretty good lock, but not as much lock as they had hoped in Luke's S14 Series 1 with a pretty basic RB25 setup with the whole rear end cut out. So they were right there behind you the whole time.
Yeah, I know. I forgot where I put them. So yeah, brand new ones. They're actually adjustable. I forgot to mention I had them for sale. I have I had 8 of these tie rods. With
shameless plug.
Well, no. Well, this is after the event.
No, but I mean, you were going to sell them all. You had them down there in case somebody broke them or whatever. That's too funny.
So, and I completely forgot to advertise them, and it has lock stops in them. Yeah.
That's funny. So, yeah, so Luke was expecting lock spaces, but so Jack qualified third, had a buy through the top 30, top 16, and in his top 16 battle against Troy Lipshinsky, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad, Troy, in his Madhouse R31 Skyline, on his lead run, Jack had blown a intercooler pipe, I think off the throttle body potentially.
I'm not sure where. I was stuck in the truck, but
yeah, I was up there with you guys, but luckily for Jack, it was wet, and he managed to sort of string the lap together.
Kind of. He was massively offline.
he was massively offline, but he drifted the whole course. It's not like he straight lined the whole course. So
Yeah.
it's not like he could be given a total zero or the run.
Right.
The lap was totally scrapped, and they managed to get that fixed up. And he was super aggressive over the crest on his chase run.
Yes, it was cool.
I think that was probably the most aggressive dive all weekend over the crest. Well, the most aggressive one that I saw. And I'm still convinced that there's potential that Troy had dropped the wheel in the dirt coming through.
I know you said that, but
through clip 3.
It still wouldn't have, even if he did, it still wouldn't have made up for the errors before.
Yeah, I thought with you guys taking so much time to make the decision, that was based around the potential of the dirt drop. But why did it take you guys so long to decide on the result of that battle?
It's just so I can understand. So there's a few things. So one of them was hang on, how do I say it? So what Jack did, was that enough to actually overcome the being offline for so much of the course the run before? Because you could tell he could drive and it was a mechanical failure, but you kind of, it's a bit funny because we've had mechanical failures before, and we're open for drivers to sort of talk to each other and say, hey, can we do this again? But that's not something that we go and approach the drivers to do. It's they come to us and say, we
want to do it.
Yeah, they both agree. They both say, and we really want to double check that
the driver's not being pressured into
any way, like guilt or there's some people are very senior and very or even just larger. So if someone like Jack came up to me, then you'd be kind of intimidated by size. But anyway, so there was that sort of a little bit of time for that. It's not, but that was just as a side part to how much is what Jack actually did in the chase enough to overcome or score higher than what Troy did in both of his runs, because his runs were good. So Troy's runs were good. They, from what we could see, there was no faults. And it was a good run. So it wasn't like a fantastic run. Like he didn't put on any sort of crazy angle, or he did what needed to be done.
He did like
so
a
it's
safe
not average, but it's better than average, so it's good, but it's not like outstanding. So whereas Jack did a very outstanding chase run, and that was the only one. So there was a lot of deliberation about if that actually overcame. So we spoke about that for a while, and then we came to the decision that there was really nothing to fault Troy's runs enough that Jack's chase run had overcome it.
Yeah. So I guess this leads into a sort of a bit of a question from me to you. This was your first event, I guess, as head judge per se.
Yep.
In that sort of situation, considering DCA doesn't have a super strict rule book, it's more about getting the best out of drivers and the best.
We have a criteria. So
you have a criteria, but you don't have the same sort of sub-regs that some series have, that a loss of drift is a total 0 and 2 wheels off the track you lose all your points or anything like that. You guys are a little bit more, you digest the runs and sort of work out a winner from there. But in this sort of situation,
wins by tactics.
Yeah. But as head judge for the first time, did you feel like it was a situation that you had to take control of, or was it one that was sort of just a group decision to?
It was a group decision. That was
Yeah.
We did talk about it and we did discuss it just so everyone's clear. And I think it was clear. It's just
you don't want to have to do it.
Yeah. It was. I'm not sure how to explain it very well, but I just wanted to make it clear because there was. I think we could see the amount of effort that Jack put in, and we wanted to consider it thoroughly before going through. So if it was an average run behind Troy, then
yeah, game over.
100%, yeah, but it's more, was his run enough to actually overcome it? And that's why there was some time, because there was not only him, some other people that we sort of took some time on. I can't remember specifically, but I do remember we did sort of talk about it. 2 or 3 others. There was a bit of time, and so it's we don't want to knock anyone out without just on the whim. So if it's questionable like that, then we would discuss it first.
But did you feel this weekend being your first time being head judge, there was situations that came up that you had to take more charge of, or that you led discussion in making decisions, or were things pretty calm across the board?
Over in the battles, it was fine. That was fine. There was no need to do that. In qualifying, we did have a bit of a talk afterwards. But it shouldn't be a big issue, because it's just that you get a bit confused, because we have the way we do judging is it's an average of 3 scores. So one person could say a run is 80, another person could say it's 70, another person could say it's 60. But the number doesn't really matter, because it's an average, as long as the scale, so the very high end, say that 70 score from the first judge is 80, and then the high end of the 60 judge is, say, 70, and same again with the 60 will be 70. What did I already say? Anyway, so as long as the scale is the same, it will average out and work out. There's only a couple of occasions that I did question his reasoning, and we did have a chat about it later.
I guess a dumbed down version for that for most people is, if you were putting the same driver in first, you were giving 100 points, but one of the other judges was giving them 30 points as an extreme, and the other judge was giving them a 70. But as long as that person was the first place getter, and then everybody was sort of scaled from there.
Yes,
it sort of works itself out in the wash. The number is sort of irrelevant as long as people are landing in a similar place. I sort of know all this because of the ice skating background. It was all sort of the same.
Similar? Okay.
Yeah, the numbers don't necessarily mean anything. It is supposed to be used as a scale, but as long as the judge,
it's only for the scale for the rankings.
Yeah, the judges are sort of putting you in a similar place to each other, irrelevant of the number, then the number doesn't actually mean anything. So if anybody actually understands that, that's what that means. If not, we probably did a really crappy job of explaining it. So, yeah, I guess, Jack was super cool. He was supposed to fly home last night.
I saw that today. It was a very short stream, but I think you watched it live. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, and I chatted to Jack a couple of times yesterday, and that's not really what I was expecting for him to do. When I spoke to him, he's got 8 weeks of high school left.
Yeah.
And
he mentioned that over the weekend.
Yeah. The reason he was only supposed to do the really short trip out here was because he only has 8 weeks of high school left, and he got to the airport yesterday and called Russell, who's one of the DCA guys, to come get him because he didn't want to leave. So he's now sticking around for another week. He's also talking
what did
about.
His parents say? Did you have you spoken to him since?
As far as I'm aware, from what I saw on the stream, I haven't spoken to him today. His mum may or may not have.
A lot of people, don't you?
Yeah, his mum may or may not have flipped out, and his dad was like, "Yeah, go for it."
Oh, okay.
So he's also talking about he's really enjoyed that experience out here, and we're all joking with him considering the DCA season is now moving into a time that is off season for the IDC or anything in the Northern Hemisphere, I guess. We were joking with him about potentially getting a car and coming out here and doing a full season, now that he's going to be finished school and and all that. So when I made comment on a post yesterday, I tagged Link ECU Worldwide and Link ECU Ireland and UK in hope that maybe they'll come on board and get him over here for the season, because I know he's keen to get back and just enjoy Australia, even though he's petrified of being eaten alive by something or bitten by something. So
eaten by kangaroos.
I wouldn't. Well, he already ate a kangaroo.
Yeah,
and he didn't and he didn't like it. So
I think he was afraid of, after eating it, getting beaten up by kangaroos afterwards.
So hopefully if he comes back, or hopefully now that we have the contact with him, we might be able to get him on a future episode, because he really is a super cool kid.
This list of future episodes,
we're going to make it
longer and longer, isn't it?
It is getting longer and longer, but it would have been cool to get him to sit down at one of these. But yeah, I don't know, super cool guy. Hopefully he's able to keep it together and get some programs together and take the world by storm, because I think he really does have the natural ability to go and do it. And he even said himself that he is in a really overbuilt car in Ireland, and he's become reliant on that, and he thought he'd struggle really badly in Australia, and he was pretty harsh on himself on the weekend. But
I thought he did really well.
Yeah, and I think
good, because I think I gave him like one bit of advice on the Friday, and I said to follow someone or check his runs, and to make sure you get the whole of the third clip entirely, because he was sort of touching and leaving. And the next run he did after that was exactly as what I asked him to do. So I think he watched the guy that I mentioned, and he did that clip completely, and it was perfect. He would have.
Who did you mention?
On the Friday was Bo.
Before he chucked a leg.
Yes, Bo. I'm going to try and pronounce his last name. Gagliardi.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I think other people call him something else. Bo something else.
Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt it, because every time I attempt something from
maybe shoe.
I get made fun of. So
what was the other one that you started doing on the weekend?
I'm not even going to say it, because I regret
it. You know what I'm talking about.
So the last thing on Jack was he came up, and we were all standing around the commentator and judges area, and going down for the last 6-person sessions, he goes, "I've been trying to rip that rear bar off that car all weekend. I'm going to remove it." And
okay. Did he remove it? Did he squash it?
I don't know if it ended up actually coming off, but
I saw the whole back of the car just completely cave in one time.
There's some good pictures of it where the rear wheels are, I'm pretty sure, almost in the fence, but Fink's got that car set up so that there's really not much to be hit. I'm surprised it still had a rear radiator. Fink sent me a picture of the car almost like basically wheels deep in the fence, and I'm like, dude, does it still have a radiator? He's like, yeah, it was fine. But when we were packing up on Sunday, somebody brought over the sort of bar that's supposed to support some of the rear bar, and it had snapped off and was laying on the track somewhere. So he did a really good job of that.
Who else?
Do you have any notable people from the weekend? I know on the episode of the Clutch Slip, which is Luke's take on our show and his sort of semi-review show, he spoke a little bit about, him and Regan spoke a little bit about notable drivers from the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. I do want to mention other people as well. So Tom Hemmings was really good until he did the fastest over the crest run ever, and then that wasn't going to pull up.
Nah, not at all.
But that was cool up until that point. I thought if you could pull that off, that'd be, if that was in qualifying, that'd be a 100-point run. That was so fast. I didn't. Yeah, well, it's too fast, but
I think there's rumors of it because I think he had a drift bit in at that stage.
Did he?
Or something like that. Well, I don't know. Supposedly somebody reckons he was doing like over 110k an hour.
Okay. Wow.
Which is well and truly up there because I know a few of the other guys had them and they're pushing speeds right on the 100k mark.
Yes, that's right.
Which was, yeah, I didn't think we were all going that fast. And once I actually saw that data come up on Saturday night, it made me think twice about not scared so much, but more like I didn't think we were able to actually get that sort of speed on that track. I'm a second gear warrior through and through. And when on Friday I was having to grab third, I was surprised. And then to know that we were doing those sort of speeds didn't surprise me because we're all in third, but then you realized how hard we were all actually pushing. So that was interesting.
Yep. The most popular on social media was the AUs. So that was
the two AUs lit up social media.
Yes, David Stankowski and Anthony
Patrick. No. That's the BAU.
Patrick Telford. Sorry.
Yeah, Patrick Telford, and that was Patrick's first. Yeah, and that was Patrick's first drift event, not in the Ebby shoes, and doing street lamp inspections.
Okay.
So
street lamp inspections are really fun sometimes.
But I guess when you live in Mount Gambier, he's done a few.
Oh, okay.
He's done a bit of traveling with Tom to a couple of events. I met him. I met him either at Calder or at Archie last year, and it would have been Calder. He came across the Calder. He didn't drive. He just came across the Calder.
Okay.
And I caught a taxi back to our accommodation with him, and super nice guy. First time being on track, and as you mentioned, I don't think you mentioned it. You just gave me attitude on Saturday night about it. Oh no, Luke pointed it out on the clutch slip that I got out qualified by both AUs and the fact that it was the guy's first time on track, and he out qualified.
No, you didn't. You qualified higher than Patrick.
Patrick? Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patrick was. I've got the qualifying scores in front of me. So Patrick was 22nd, and you came 18th. So he wasn't that far behind you.
Okay, that's not too bad.
It was pretty close. There was a lot of people in front of you, though.
Yeah, thanks. I think there was a whole 17 people in front of me. Thanks for that. That makes me feel really special. So yeah, those guys were notable. Yeah, broken the internet. I had a picture come up that I was tagged in, and Will Chamberlain, who had come for a few rides with me, photographer, had put nothing more JDM than a S14 in on the streets in a forest or something like that, and Patrick's AU was in front, and everybody goes, we all know who the true hero of this photo is. So that's funny. So if you're in any photos with an AU, they're the popular ones.
Sorry, the connection just dropped out just then.
No, it's okay. No, I just said that if you're in any photos with an AU, the AU is going to be the popular part.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have you seen how popular AUs are online? They have their own Facebook page.
Yeah. So we spoke about this in the last one.
Okay.
There was.
Okay. Who else? There was another Canberra person, Robert Coombe. So he's been out of actually, he did DCA a few years ago, Rayleigh, but he has been out of competition or not really into comp driving. I think last time he did DCA was only because he really wanted to drive Rayleigh and it was fun. Before that, the last sort of big competition was back in their Super Drift days in 2006. So he's been out of the comp scene for a long time, and he did really well in his car. I did actually help put it together put the car together so he can drive.
You spent
a few issues.
Yeah, you spent many nights for the few weeks leading into getting that car done.
Yep. So that was good to see him there. And
what did he qualify?
He qualified 7th.
Oh, that's rigged. That's because you put that car together that he qualified 7th.
Hey, there's 2 other judges as well, so it's an average score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you give the guy 100 points and qualify him first, and then it averages out with the other guys, he lands in about 7th.
Maybe.
I'm going to go all Blake Patterson on this one and go with conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theory? Okay. That's fine. You could do that. I can't actually remember what I actually scored him. But another notable person was Ben Meir. So
Ben stepped it up this year. Well, like for this round. I remember last year, and he'll probably listen to this and send me a message and abuse me or something.
I'd be surprised if he listens to this.
I don't know. Hopefully he does.
Has he listened to the other ones?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But last year he struggled finding the clips, and he got a little bit hot under the collar.
He got worse.
Yeah, he got a little bit hot under the collar, thinking that he was sort of in the right places. But I think it was a good eye opener for him, and he watched a bit of footage last year and then realized what he was missing.
Yeah.
And then this weekend, oh my God, he was absolutely killing it almost every single run, which, yeah, I was super impressed.
It was almost like someone else was driving that car.
Yeah, maybe somebody else was, but I think he's starting to put the skill set together and keeping his sort of mind in check when he goes out there and drives. Ben was formerly a national level and international level BMX racer, so he's not somebody who doesn't understand competition, but I think sometimes in the heat of the moment he lets the situation get the better of him and loses some focus on what he's supposed to do. But in this one, yeah, definitely not. Just seems super comfortable in that car. It worked for him perfectly all weekend. Yeah, and he was absolutely killing it until it rained in... I think so. He went rerun with Logan in the Datto 120Y. I didn't see that battle because they were one of the battles just before me. But I think Logan went too deep on their rerun and put it into the fence.
He came off. Let me just check my notes.
Oh, getting all formal up in this business.
So yeah, first run was a rerun. The second run, yeah, so Logan just pushed a little bit too hard.
Yeah, found the fence, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And he just did, he was really, he kept sort of, he sort of wobbled out of coming out through the valley. So I don't know if he actually touched the fence, but it definitely put him off. He came in up and then he
came in with damage. Yeah, he came in with damage, and Ben came in with more damage. And all I remember
on the clip too.
Yeah, and all I remember was seeing Logan come down the chute into the pits, and then Ben was probably 30 seconds or so later. But I think, it ended up being that he followed Logan during his mistake. Like, it was Logan's mistake that Ben followed. So I think that was enough. But then it ended up raining, and I don't think even during the little warm-up time that you guys gave the drivers before top 16, Ben was struggling with the wet. So probably a car setup issue more than a driver skill issue there. I think that was the only wet patch.
You can be a bit mean to Ben if you want. I don't think you'll be.
No. I honestly think it did, because the car came out to lock, and he wasn't really on power, and it still just wanted to over rotate. So I would say probably too much. The fact that he's got really soft semis on the front probably played against him in that situation, because with no heat in them, he just probably had no grip and it over rotated him. So that was a shame with that one.
Who else?
Yeah, I think the guys who you expect to do well found their way to the top. Matt Harvey, Dale Campaign,
Yes.
Daniel Sadler, and Jackson Snell, who used to drive ADGP in a VY Ute that you don't really remember or followed or anything like that.
No
Was in
memory of it at all.
Luke spoke about him on the clutch slip a little bit, and yeah, it was in a really basic R33 Skyline, coilovers, welded diff, no lock mods.
Yeah,
and
you mentioned
managed to,
that they only just bought the car like a week ago.
Yeah, because he was going to try and have. He has another car. I can't remember what I have him on Facebook, but I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't going to be ready in time. So, $2,500 R33 Skyline that already had coilovers and an intercooler, and I think he took it out for a quick run up the road because is registered, and it was single pegging, so he welded the diff and managed to come top 4. Super consistent. What I watched all weekend that opened my eyes to the fact that I like to go and spend money on things to cover up the fact that I'm a crap driver, and this dude who's had
need more.
I know we talk about this all the time, and it's basically every episode you've told me it. But this is about other people right now.
Okay.
So yeah, he super consistent, no lock mods, and yeah, managed to come top 4. So thought that was pretty good, and Luke took note of that in his episode of the clutch slip.
You know who I was actually expecting to sneak their way into the top 4 was that silver R33 that came with Daniel Shoulders.
Yeah, Cameron, whatever his name is.
Cameron Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he would like sneak into the top 4 or top 3 somehow, because he was not as aggressive as Chopper, as Daniel Shoulders, but he seemed a lot smoother. So I thought he would actually battle up a bit higher, and maybe not 1 or 2, maybe because it would have been pretty tough there. But I thought maybe he might sneak into 3rd or 4th place.
He also did a lot of tandem practice. Every time
it was good.
I'm pretty
good
sure.
too.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he might be a street lamp inspector too. So that was super cool. That car looked a little bit worse for wear, but I think he had every intention of pushing hard all weekend.
Yeah, it was good. I liked watching him.
So hopefully he's one who continues to stick with the series, because he's fairly young, and I think he'll be one to watch.
Yeah, I think he's only an apprentice though, so I hope he does the rest of the series, but I think it'll be pretty tough for him.
Yeah, but I'm more main sticking with it so that, when he's got the time and the money that DCA is where he finds himself. I think he's a Victorian driver, so
he may be a chopper. So yeah, he's good. I think Grant that as well was good in battles, but not very good in qualifying, I thought.
Yeah, we spoke about that a little bit earlier.
And
I guess we should speak about the king of the hill himself.
Matt Harvey.
No, the king of the hill, previous 2-time number 1 qualifier, round winner, 2nd last year, Cash King, Blake Patterson. This weekend.
Talk about?
I mean, like the fact that the first 2 years, he no matter what.
Talk about him. He borrowed. He used my car.
Yeah, I guess he did. He did use your car, but he didn't do any damage, and he actually laid a sick lap.
I know. I was surprised. I thought he would definitely scrape a wall with my car on purpose.
I honestly thought he might just nose it in come over the crest straight and then just drive up the hill into that tree that was at the, up the bank outside turn 3.
No, I expected Blake.
If it was Steve's car, he would have done it.
I expected Blake to do so when Matt Hill borrowed Warwick Hill's Beamer.
Yeah.
You know how he just sort of just tapped
pinballed it off. Yeah, pinballed it off all the walls.
Yeah, it was only a slight tap, but that's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think when Blake touches the walls at Mount Gambier, everything goes a bit pear-shaped.
No, but it's a Skyline. It'll definitely take the hit.
Yeah, it'll take the hit.
Look how many times it was crashed 3 times and still going.
Alive.
Yeah.
So I think it was interesting to see Blake struggle on the weekend, I guess. Somebody who's done so well previously at that track. Yeah, just sort of.
He was in conservative mode. Like, remember when we spoke to him, he was saying he really didn't want to damage the car because I think he's lazy, he doesn't want to fix it. But
and doesn't want to fix it, and he wants to go drive other series, so we're not going to talk to him anymore, I guess.
Really? Oh, that's right. He wants to drive that lower series, doesn't he?
Yeah, now watch all the hate comments we get from people who want to drive in high tech. So, yeah, I honestly, I can understand him wanting to drive conservative to not do any damage, but he managed to. He put the diff that he had in the car, shot a hole in the back of the rear cover, and I think the welds broke because the welded diff broke, but it looked like bird poo inside the diff. Like, I had a look at that diff, and it was actually a big bit of slag that had come off.
Why did he weld it?
Who knows?
But he's lazy. Yeah, because he just put a sticker weld in. That's it. Yeah. Yeah,
and it was like either a helical or a viscous LSD. It wasn't even an open diff that had been welded. So he bought a diff and got that put in the car, and then in his top 16 battle.
No, he fixed the
top 8.
Then he fixed the hole in the cover.
Yeah. He fixed the hole in the cover because he had bought a diff off Matt Harvey, so it had the 4-bolt cap on it, so he needed to use his cap to put it in the S15. So he used a Sprite can to sort of Sikaflex the hole closed, and then in his top, did he make top 16 or top 8? I think it may have been a top 8 battle. The weather was dry by that stage, but he snapped a stub axle in the diff.
Yes,
and that's when he jumped into your car and sent it. But sadly, it wasn't enough considering he'd driven straight from Salap.
Yeah.
So, it would have been interesting if he was able to battle his way right through. I was giving him a bit of grief this afternoon because Nick Clippen, who you spoke about earlier, your teammate, posted up a video of their battles, and Blake did completely the wrong thing on his first lead run of the weekend.
They both did.
Nick's wasn't so... Well, it's hard to tell from the on-car of Nick's, but Blake flew... Blake flew completely across the midline that he was supposed to do, and then completely missed outside clip 1. So you guys turned him around and told them to go do it again, which gives me a lot more. I guess I already have a lot of respect for you guys, other than the fact that you qualified me 18th and knocked me out in the top 32. You guys sticking to your actual rules.
Yeah. So with that, we did set that criteria that if they did cross that centre line with more than half of the car, then they would be penalised.
And
it would be severe because.
And for people to understand, the road that we were using is marked as a normal street, so there is dotted lines down the centre, so it is obvious as to which side of the road you are. It's not a traditional racetrack where these guys have marked a line down it.
Yeah, and then so because that happened, and it's not expected, it'll put the chase car off. So what we did was the distance that was created because of that crossover, we kept that as the proximity required. So if Nick was able to chase closer than that, then that would be good. If he dropped further away than what he did, then he would be penalised. But because he was sort of maintained that sort of distance between when that entry occurred, then it was, even though there was a gap, it was due to...
consistent.
Yeah, Blake blocking him.
Yeah.
So...
No, as I said, it was... Yeah, and as I said, it was good that was stuck to. And I think that was the only incident really of that all weekend. I think everybody else actually sort of paid attention to that. And I guess Blake...
Yes, the ones that qualified, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple in qualifying and they were penalised, but then... I think they were pretty far down the field anyway, so they probably didn't have a choice of where they wanted to try.
Yeah. Blake probably could have gone deeper into the comp potentially if the car hadn't broken for the second time. I don't think that's everybody else who was expected to do well, I think was up there, and the quality of the event itself from a competition point was, I think, was pretty high from what I saw. I don't know if you feel different. I don't know if you feel differently, but
I like this one because, as you said over the weekend, everyone actually met my 60-point minimum. So I have this thing that so there's qualifying, but there's also another rule I would put in place where if you don't score higher than 60, then you're also disqualified from the comp, because you're not at that level where you can be competitive enough to follow or lead.
Yeah, more so lead, I would say.
Yeah. Because I've been to other comps where I can understand that people want to enter comps, and that's because that's their goal is to do drifting comps, but they really need to do practice days to get their level up enough to do comps, instead of doing nothing, building a car, going to a comp, and just constantly spinning out. And all that's going to happen is when a car behind you or in front of you is expecting you to do the qualifying line or the criteria, and you just do, say you come down in fourth gear down into an entry and you've just spun on the spot, then the car behind you, because they're being competitive, then they shoot in, they've got nowhere to go. There's a spun out car stopped on the road, on the track or road, actually, and so you write two cars off, and that's why I would do that. But so everyone qualified higher than 60, so that was good.
Sadly, it was only a 27, 28 car field. Shannon Boyer sadly had to go home early, who was in the corona, because he had some family emergency, so it dropped the field down to, I think, 27 or 28.
Down to 27. Dave Dermody also turned up from South Australia, who couldn't get the engine started, and I think when they did some diagnosis, it was a lot worse than they thought, and instead of destroying the engine, they would go not enter and take it back home and fix it.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty sad that was the numbers that the event had, considering it is probably the coolest drift event in the country. But I guess it made for a more quality event. Everybody got an absolute bucket load of track time, and so and I know people say that we speak too much about competitions, but if you entered this competition, the competition was like this much, and I'm showing like maybe 5 millimeters gap between my finger and my thumb, compared to a meter stretched out between my arms now, because I think so. I blew the box on Friday just after lunch, and then I was fairly conservative over the weekend. I would have done 100 laps plus, used a tank and a half of petrol, and I would have, if I'd kept the old tires on, I would have only used a pair of tires in 3 days, and a bucket load of those laps were tandem runs. That's better than you'd get at any practice day.
Yeah.
Or at a Matsuri or something like that. There was so much track time.
Well, you can look at Connor. So Connor came in the front-wheel drive Prelude, and he just did the expression sessions only. So he had enough time to crash his car 3 or 4 times, fix it, get back out there, and have a lot of time driving.
He did, like there was so much drive time. So people getting sort of thinking that us talking about DCA all the time is just about competition. Man, the DCA stuff is more than a competition. You get so much quality, and the fact that you're lucky enough to get to drive with some of the best, or I would say the best drivers in Australia.
Yeah, definitely. The best come to DCA.
and the fact that they're more than happy to line you up during practice and just go for it. Super cool, and hopefully we had enough numbers there for the DCA crew and family to justify putting the event on again for the next season. But anybody who enjoys drifting should come and drive this event, because
It's not just the driving as well; it's everything else. So the area is cool. If you haven't been to Mount Gambier before, it's the road that we drive on is so picturesque. We're pitted in a crater with a lake. It's not the crystal blue one, or the what they call the blue lake.
Yeah, just the blue lake.
It's the scenery is awesome. There's grass all the way down to the water. There's ducks. I think one of the ducks actually walked out in front of
somebody later in the day.
Yeah, and so Grant had to pull up on the start line, or just as he's going down, because there was wildlife crossing over the road.
It's like Bathurst, but without the kangaroos. It's ducks instead.
And then just the people that turn up, the attitude as well. They're professional, but they're very friendly. So sometimes you go to comp and they're very standoffish. So they don't want to interact with people. They're sort of closed off in their own groups, and they just don't talk to you, or they don't talk to spectators. Having the open pit walk where the spectators can come and have a look at the cars, they can talk to the drivers, and most of the drivers were very good with communicating and showing off their cars. So it's a very fun event. Then there's you can go for a swim in the afternoon if you want to go for a swim. That video is on the DCA page somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
There is.
Yep, that was fun. So, but I think you have to still do it, because the agreement was in your race suit, but that was...
Yeah. Well, I went back and watched some of the footage I got from the weekend. So the original agreement was going to be, I said, because I had a feeling that I would smash that gearbox. And I had said, if I smash the gearbox if I smash the second box on Sunday afternoon, I'm just going to send it into the lake fully race suited up. And then I came to the decision, you know what, I'm going to send it into the lake anyway. But it was warm that day, and then it was warm on Saturday, and I'm like, I'm super keen for this, so I brought a change of clothes. And then Sunday was raining and overcast and crappy, and I wasn't going to do it. And then yours truly, head judge over here, decided, you know what, I'm going to try and get him in there anyway. So,
you know who reminded me?
Probably Danielle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Danielle. You make me feel so special sometimes. And so I have to give you props. I did not think EG was as fast as he is. And I ran really fast and really far, and he kept up with me. But eventually he tired and figured, why am I still running? He's going to have to come back to his car anyway.
Yeah, and you went up the hill, and I wouldn't be able to catch you up the hill. Not that far up anyway. I was honestly about 10 steps from being... flat on my face, tired anyway. Oh, really?
So, the willpower for you was not as strong as mine. But then Jack and Tiana worked out what had happened, because I think they were involved in part of the conversation, and I was grabbed and then carried towards the water, and I just took the opportunity to get rid of my keys, phone, and shoes before I went for a swim in the lake, to then find out that there's warnings for bacteria and algae. But look, I got no eye infections or anything like that yet, so I'm doing okay. But I lost the sock. So if anybody sees a sock in Valley Lake, can you please just inbox the page, and I will send you my address to get my sock back. I don't know, super cool event, just start to finish, just super cool event. I think if
Blake summed it up really shortly, really well. So it's not just the competition, but it's just going there and hanging out with all these really cool people.
Yeah, I don't know. There was such a relaxed vibe about the weekend. I think maybe it was partly because the numbers were down. People were able to sort of be more free coming on and off the track, and you had so much time that you wanted to come off and have a bit of a break, and you sort of needed to have a bit of a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of hype around Tasmania now, because everybody who did Mount Gambier had such a good time at Mount Gambier. Seems like there'll potentially be more mainlanders going over to Tasmania this year than last year, even though I think we had 7 to 10 cars go over last year, which was a pretty solid field.
Yep.
And I think it's seeming like there's a lot more people wanting to go over. I was on the fence about doing it, but then you sort of catch the DCA bug and you're like, oh, I can't miss that one. Biggest amount of FOMO. So there's a bit of hype going on for that. And yeah, I don't know.
We're going to buy a we're talking, and I think we're actually going to buy, or we're looking to buy a manual Falcon for Tasmania. Yeah, and try and leave it there. So fly down, buy the car, and then drift to the event, and then put it in the storage over there, so we can just go over and drift it whenever.
Yeah, that's cool. And because I got Super Matsuri later in the year, that would be probably a good one to go over and drive. I might rent it off you for Super Matsuri.
We'll see. We'll see, because I think it was myself and Steve Pembry that was talking about it. That we're talking about.
He's a poor uni student. He's going to be happy to take any money for somebody else to drive that. So I think that was Mount Gambier. I'm not sure if there was much else about that you really wanted to talk about. I think that's pretty much sums it up. Podium was Matt Harvey first.
We didn't mention that either, did we?
Oh, we sort of did, but so podium was Matt Harvey in first. Daniel
Shalders, also known as Chopper from Victoria, in second. Then third was
Dale
Campaign from South Australia, and fourth was the ADGP guy.
Yeah, Jackson Snell.
That's it, because I keep writing his name wrong for some reason.
Yeah, the judges kept putting Ben's name, who's his brother, who last year went like 55,000 reruns with...
Just in top 32.
In top 32 with... Was that against Matty Hill or something? No. I can't remember who it was. It was with a pretty experienced driver last year. So he went a bunch of reruns, and yeah, he was there in a R31 this year, and drove pretty solidly as well, considering that car took a big hit on Saturday afternoon
with Mitch, wasn't it?
With Mitch, Mitch, and I probably missed.
Funny.
I missed the back of that accident by maybe 15 centimeters. I pulled up if I wasn't on the uphill for the run up, for the coming over the crest, I probably would have ended up in the back of him.
It was running the crest, wasn't it? So during practice or expression.
During 60 minute.
Yeah. So
which turned into was like 140 minute to win it or something like that.
It went was around 2 hours.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more than 2 hours. Yeah, it was the whole Arvo session. Yep. So things were getting a little bit wild. So that was Mount Gambier. Another great Mount Gambier. Each time Luke goes back there, the track seems to get safer, and it just opens up. So hopefully, and I'm sure Luke will listen to this. Please do what you can to make it happen again. I know he's already in talks with the council, and Dale Campaign was schmoozing the mayor or something like that about trying to get some of the road edges fixed up with some drainage.
Yeah, they really need to do that more drainage on the corner near Clip 3, that little, triangle bit this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that triangle bit needs a bit of drainage there.
Just to drop it off.
Yeah.
And I think that would clean up. And I think that's really the only place that needs attention. Really cool. So, I think that wraps it up. I don't know if there's anything else you want to speak about about DCA this weekend.
Everyone should go next time.
For sure. Everybody should go to any DCA event that they can get to.
I'm looking forward to Tasmania. The Tassie guys are really cool. They're fun to hang out with. Really good attitude, and we can go down to Tasmania with very minimal staff, because the Tasmanian drifters' attitude, they turn up on time. Like they actually turn up sometimes before we do, because I don't know why, but
because they're asleep. They're asleep in the garages. That's why.
Okay. No, because I think the first year at Baskerville, they were all lined, because track opens at 7, and I think we planned to arrive there at 7, because they will open the gates for us, and they were all lined up at the gate, ready to go. And then we told them briefings at 8:30, and all of them were at the briefing.
Yeah, last year for Simmons was the same. So, yeah, my plan originally was on the fence about Tasmania, but I think I'm going to try and make it work. So we'll give everybody a bit of a break on the DCA thing for until mid-May, I guess. So we won't be talking about it too much leading into then, unless there's some big news. I know Luke's trying to work out a special guest at the moment, tossing around some names, but we won't go into that too much. And
I think there's a couple of rumors about Americans coming over.
Yeah, there's plenty of rumors about Americans coming over, and there is some confirmed ones for later in the year, but I don't think that's for public just yet until that's locked in. So yeah, I think we'll leave everybody for the DCA stuff for a little while. Another event that was on, and I know we're deep into this episode and we're probably going to wrap it up soon, but another event over the weekend was Halfway Hangs, which is an event held at Coffs Harbour that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, where Brisbane drivers and some Sydney drivers sort of meet up at Rally, and they do...
Well, yeah, originally it was meant to be halfway between Brisbane and Sydney. But there was a lot of... we saw the cars coming up from Melbourne,
yeah, we saw a crew of silver cars coming up from Melbourne.
Yeah. So I think it's getting a lot more popular. Yeah,
and it looked like Stewie Bryant showed up for that.
That was weird.
Which is cool.
I think that would happen.
But I think he liked Rally when you guys had DCA there, and he hasn't had much of an excuse to go there, so I think he used it as an excuse to potentially go. And
did he drive?
I'm not sure. I just saw it pop up on social media just before we did this. But sadly, on the Saturday... a few drivers went for a swim at one of the local beaches, and sadly one is still missing. So our thoughts go out to the Price family. Daniel Price is still currently missing. So even down at DCA, the word had got around because he was a driver who had driven Archie a bunch of times. So the Fink family and the family at Archerfield knew him. So there were a lot of thoughts and a lot of well wishes going around from the DCA crew up to Halfway Hang. So hopefully good news comes out of that. But our thoughts are with everybody who was there and involved in that. It's a little bit of a sad situation, but yeah, the drift community is strong when you've got guys who aren't interested in the comps, and then the guys who are interested in the comps sending well wishes up to those guys. So yeah, definitely not good news from that event, but I think overall it looked like it was a good event from a driving point of view.
Oh, sorry. I just sort of cut audio out there.
Yeah.
Just the last sentence, that's all. Sorry.
Yeah, I just said that, it's a bit sad that it happened, but from a driving point of view, it looked like everything else went really well for that, and I think that event's going to continue to thrive and continue to get bigger and better each year. So, yeah, I guess that sort of wraps up where we're at for this week. I think we're probably close to an hour and 40 minutes into it.
No, yeah, we're about an hour and a half. Just under
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else too notable for this week. We have been tossing up ideas on a future episode, and there was a bit of a topic that came up in discussion on the drive back from Mount Gambier, and we might look at doing a top 10 drivers, Australian drifters. I haven't really spoken to EG about this yet, and I know
it's all news to me.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this information to come out.
Yeah. I think you got semi-involved with some of the group chat partly on it, but between our car and Blake Patterson's car on the way back, there was a lot of discussion about.
We should do an interview with Blake.
Yeah,
I think Blake would probably the same as you and start sort of talking and not stop as well.
Yeah, but that's good. Steve was similar on the last episode, but I actually thought that episode was pretty interesting. So it'd be interesting to do a top 10 and just sort of see where we rank people. And then they sort of went into talking about maybe doing a top 10
Is this
drive.
An individual thing, like top 10 for
I don't know.
Top 10 for me?
No, I think, yeah, I was sort of tossing up the idea, but it would just be an interesting sort of debate episode. People are wanting more banter and more more disagreements between us. So it'd be interesting to sort of do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we should save it. Considering it was Blake's idea, we should try and get Blake on for an episode.
We'll argue with Blake.
Yeah, no. So get Blake on for an episode and speak to Blake about Blake, similar to what we did with Steve, and then get him back on again and have an argument about who the top 10 guys in Australia are.
Sounds good.
That episode could go for weeks.
It could, and we could probably actually convince Blake on some of the on that episode that particular driver that he selected could be really, really bad. He has we have been able to sway him occasionally.
Yeah, so that's an idea we're throwing up for a future episode. So if you've got any other suggestions for episodes like that, throw them at us.
I had another suggestion by someone else, but I sort of acknowledged it, and then that was it.
But what was it, a good one or was it a crappy one?
Well, I'll tell you. So the suggestion was to do an episode about. So we did the drift car episode, and then they said we should do a tow car episode.
A tow car episode.
Yeah.
I guess we could, but I think that's probably a little less interesting. But maybe on a week where we're totally done for info.
I think I had some Maccas in my hand. I just turned around and started eating the Maccas. That was it.
Yeah, that almost seems more informative, and knowing our luck, we'd be like, oh yeah, you should definitely get a blah blah blah, and then somebody goes and a
Commodore.
No, well, we'll say something like that, and then everybody will go out and buy something, and then they'll be crap, and then everybody sort of hits us up for.
What could be better than a Falcon? Did you see them on the weekend?
What? Yeah, but that was. But again, we're talking drift cars again now, not tow cars.
Multi-use.
Yeah. Oh, and so one more point on Mount Gambier. There was the whole blow up about Connor before the event.
Yep.
Connor ended up laying it sick all weekend. Welded that car back together because he had some run-ins with the wall. You mentioned that earlier, and then managed to drive that car home. Also, the thing that I found the funniest all weekend was nobody pulled up beside him on the line and then decided not to run a tandem with him, whether he was in front or behind. Not once did I see a car pull up beside him or a car that he pulled up beside go.
There was one, actually, but that was because he was in a borrowed car. It wasn't you. It was Bo.
Yeah.
Bo came up afterwards and said, was it actually okay to run? And I said, I don't care. Well, actually, because he would have been allowed. He was just worried. So I don't know if he did that afterwards or not.
Yeah, so that wasn't a reluctance to the situation. That was still just making sure that, what it was okay.
Yeah.
So
if I was comfortable with it or not, but I'd go driving with Connor anyway, so it doesn't. Yeah. He probably didn't know that.
So I think that was cool, and he sent it sick all weekend. So
kind of. His 360s were a bit tiring, but he thought it was cool.
I didn't get to see any of the 360s because most of the sessions he was out there driving. I was with him, and I think he only did 360s if he was behind somebody or there was nobody to run with.
Yeah, it was okay a couple of times, but I think he did too much, and then quite often, more than half of the time, he'd actually pick up the dirt and put it onto the track. So I told him about that afterwards. So I told him as long as he keeps on the track and there's no one behind him, then it's fine. So he'll keep an eye out on that for next time. He just didn't know he was doing that.
Yeah, and then he drove it home and made it home. So
kind of. We stopped a few times. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, you did. But people just need to know that he drove good, and that was the main thing.
He could have driven in that comp. Like I don't.
This is an argument for another time, and the internet had an argument with that. So, and I don't think Luke's never going to let it happen because it needs its own. No.
Yeah,
it needs its own sort of category. I think.
Maybe.
Things would need. I guess things wouldn't need to be amended as such, but it's just that's a debate for another day. So if you've got any ideas. Oh, one other thing that I want to bring up. So we didn't really speak about it because we had Steve on the last episode. There are a few messages sent to the page in regards to my attitude towards a few situations. I don't know if I got taken the wrong way, but where I was talking about people sitting on their hands and not pulling cars out of garages and coming to events. At no point did I mean that people who are beginners shouldn't be showing up to every event possible. Places like QR, Wakefield, Winton are perfect places for beginners to learn to drive, because there's very little to hit. They're the sort of places you should be going. Something like the Figure 8 in Sydney now is not a very good place to start, because there are lots of things to hit. It's a little bit slower speed, but there's a lot of things to hit. I think when you're going out there and learning to drive, that you should try and drive within your means and take steps. Don't expect to go out there and be the DK the first time you go out and drive. But yeah, in no way, shape or form did I, if any of the comments, I haven't gone back and listened, but I didn't mean for any of my comments to be taken in a way that I don't think people should be showing up to certain events. I think everybody should be showing up to every possible event that they can drive. Even if you show up to a DCA event, you've never been on track before, it's not necessarily a bad place to even start. You just have to accept the fact that, hey, you're not actually going to make the top 32 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
right.
I apologize if that was taken the wrong way. But yeah, anything else on your side?
No, I'm just checking how much data I've got left, because I'm actually doing the connection through. I'm Skyping Greg through my phone. Sorry, Greg. Oh yes, that's one more thing. We had Gerg Merriman stickers, but we didn't get them out. We got one on your car.
On the back of the Commodore.
We will have them available. I think. I'm not sure how we're going to make them available. If you do want one, we'd probably just we would ask that you cover any sort of shipping, or like however much it costs to actually get the stickers out to you. But if you want one, you can message us and I can get you out some stickers. Otherwise, we will hand some out during events and things like that. So they're pretty cool stickers, aren't they?
Or you got to jump onto our Patreon that doesn't exist and donate $1,000 before you can get one. And the funds will go to putting the Team Red Stage cars back together and something like that.
They all drove home, I think. Yeah, they.
Doesn't mean they don't need work.
They're fine.
Yeah. Also, I'll try. I'm going to try and get a vlog out at some stage, but my cinematographer enjoyed pressing this record button over and over again during conversations and cut out, and during battles and things like that, and cut out all sorts of stuff. So she won't listen this far. She won't listen this deep into this conversation. But
I'm going to try and remind her to. I'm going to actually put a link to this timestamp.
Do it. But I'm going to encourage her to not press the red button over and over again. Press it once and let it go, because there was some interesting stuff missed, including some rants by Luke, which was a bit funny, but we missed a lot of that. And she missed my splashdown. So I want to get the footage off your. I want to get the footage off your phone, because you're the one. You're like right there. So I think your footage is probably the best.
I haven't even looked it up. I don't even know if my finger was covering the lens.
the lens. You're too busy watching it in person.
Yeah.
So
surprisingly.
Yeah, I think this sort of wraps up this episode. I think we're at an hour and 40 now. But yeah, any suggestions or any criticism, don't be afraid to send it through. We do take it all on board. I think I've been pretty good with the ums on this episode. You have not been all that good with the ums on this episode.
I haven't. I noticed, and every time I say it, I notice that I haven't marked a tally at all, but I still don't think it's as much as what you did.
Not as much as I did. Not as much as I did early on. But the last episode I didn't talk all that much because Steve was talking. But this episode, I think I've only dropped it a few times, so I've been pretty good, and way less than Luke did on the clutch slip. So if you don't know, Luke has started another page. It's called The Clutch Slip, and he sort of does a a wrap up of our episodes plus whatever else he wants to talk about. And so go over and have a look at that. It is pretty funny, but a lot of it's just targeted at poking fun at me. And then it got set. Then the last episode got sensible within 10 minutes. So I sent him a message. I sent him a message and I was just unimpressed. I said, stop stealing our material. If you're going to run this and steal our design, I will sue you for stealing our logo and doing that, unless he keeps it funny and stop doing sensible things, because that's not what he's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be a piss take on our cast. So yeah, cool. I know we all listen this far into this. So are we high-fiving? Because we didn't high-five the last episode on the couch when we should have really high-fived.
That was so easy to do as well.
Yeah, but it was after midnight on the Friday of DCA, and we were fried at that stage. So yeah. Where am I?
You're get a bit close to the mirror. That's it, right there. Okay. We really needed someone needs to make a sound board or something of a clap. A sound effect of a clap.
I'm not sure how we're going to do this. So am I pulling back and going like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you counting it in, or am I?
So what are we doing again?
So we're going like
three.
So 3, 2, 1, back.
Yeah.
And in.
Oh wow, it's too far.
Just like in one motion. So I was like 3, 2, 1, back and clap.
Okay.
Did that look like it was going to work?
Yeah, it would look like it was going to work.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1. How was that so delayed that time?
It wasn't. It was perfect.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
It looked really delayed on my screen.
Maybe there is a delay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the audio doesn't seem it, but I don't know. Yeah. All right. So thank you for listening. If you made it this deep in, we're another hour and 40-minute episode.
Thank you.
But thanks for listening. Any suggestions, let us know. I'm hoping this weekend or at some stage we are going to try and do a call in to somebody just to see if we can get 3 people going and get it sort of working.
Test it out.
And then
I do have a Motorcana thing on Sunday. You could come down to that, being a Commodore.
Yeah, nah. If the 14 was ready, I'd bring. Oh no, you need to be registered.
Yeah, you need to be registered.
But
we're going to car. I actually don't have a car to drive. I'm going to try and find someone to borrow a car off.
So take Nick's. He always takes yours. So take his. We're going to try and do that, and then hopefully within the next 1 to 3 weeks, we will be doing hopefully an episode with some other people, and I would imagine that our friend Blaken will be on one of the first episodes, because he's somebody I would really like to pick his brain.
Who was that again?
Blaken Patterson.
Oh, the almost vegan
McMaster Chef. McMaster Chef.
So Blaken. Yeah. It was Blaken, the almost vegan,
and McMaster Chef.
McMaster Chef. Okay.
There's some other words in there too, but we're not going to say them on this, because if we ever get monetized, no, we probably wouldn't, because then there will be ads every 10 minutes. But yeah, we're going to try and get him on, because he is like a beautiful mind of drifting in Australia. So it'll be fun to stir him up and get some input from him about him. So, yep. Thanks for listening. We have rambled on longer than we should have, but yeah, and have a look at as much of the DCA Mount Gambier stuff as you can. It was super cool, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. All right. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Boom.